one thing y'all know about me is that I'm a thug. So it is very rare to catch me crying about a book, but I'm not saying it hasn't happened. So these are the few books that have gotten me to cry, and I mean in public, ugly crying. These are the ones. So let's get into it. Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona, and today we are going to be talking about books that have actually made me cry. Now, if I'm saying it made me cry, that's a lot. Because again, I don't be crying with these books. I don't. It's a rare occasion. Okay. So first up, I want to talk about Red at the Bone by Jaqueline Woodson. What a phenomenal book. This book is literally it's less than 200 pages actually. At the beginning of this book, we have 16-year-old Melody. She's walking down the steps at her grandparents' Brooklyn brownstone. And she is all dressed up in this pretty dress because she's doing like a coming out ceremony. All right. She's 16. And the whole family is looking up at her. Her parents, her grandparents, and they're all thinking the same thing. That the dress that Melody is wearing was actually custom made for her mom to wear 16 years earlier, but the mom never ended up wearing it. So the book pretty much kicks off from there. We also flip back to the Tulsa massacre that occurred in 1921. And we start to get some backstories on Melody's parents and the grandparents. And we're just literally getting all this information about how did these four people end up there? Like, how did we get to that point? And there is so much beauty in this story, and the way Jaqueline has written this story in such a way, like this book, I read this book so long ago, but when I tell you, I can't forget it. It's a book that once you read it, it just kind of sticks with you. It's about, race, class, status, and parenting. It's about so much. And there is something that happens in this book, and I wasn't expecting it. Like, I absolutely was not expecting it. And I think it was like the shock of it all. I'm just reading this book, enjoying myself. I remember exactly where I was. I was on the subway. I was on the train on my way home from work, and I just could not stop the tears. And I was on the train, and one of the good things about living in New York, people mind their business. So like, it was not even a thing. Like, it was just, no one asked me if I was okay. No one made a spectacle of it. Everyone pretended that they did not know I was crying on that train. And like, I was respectful about it. I didn't make any noises. I was just but I very much was not expecting what happened in this book, and it just really hit me in the chest. So yes, if you remember this book coming out a while back and you never got to it, now is a good time to do so. Jaqueline Woodson is a complete legend, so you really cannot go wrong with something that she has written. I'm also going to talk about Rootless by Krstle, Zara, Appiah, who actually has a new book that has come out in the UK. But I couldn't wait, so I ordered it anyway. So I have it in my library. It's called Half Lives. Anyway, This was my first introduction to Krystle's writing, and as you can see, I enjoyed it because I ran out and got a book that's not even out in the US. But this book, I just thoroughly enjoyed this book so much. I did this one on, I think I did half physical reading, and then I finished it off on audio. In this book, we meet a couple named Sam and Effie, and in the beginning of this book, we know that Effie has left. She has left their home, and we don't know why. We don't know what's going on. We just know that Sam is frantic, right? And one thing about this book is that you have to pay attention to the time frames, and because it's very important. It's at the beginning of the chapter. It tells you what time frame we're in, and then it starts to do a countdown. Right? We don't know what it's counting down to. We just know it's doing some kind of countdown. It also flips back and forth between the past and the present. It also goes from Ghana to London. This book is doing a lot. However, it works. It fully works, and let's just say I was not ready for the gut punch that this book was. This book talked a lot about, being a wife, and specifically motherhood, and the things that are expected of you, and also regarding relationships. And because this couple had been together since they were young, everyone just knew that they were going to be together, that they eventually were going to get married. They were best friends for a long time at one point, and it was just kind of like a will they, won't they type of thing. And it's not a spoiler, obviously. It's clear that they are married, and it's kind of reading the book and finding out how did they end up getting married. How did they move from that friendship into actually being a couple, into actually being married? And, regarding relationships, this book asks the question of, is love enough? That's kind of one of the questions that I took from this book, is very much, is love enough? Is love enough to stay with somebody just because you have an immense love for them? I love this book so much. I love this book so much. I could really talk about this book all day long. It just never feels like enough people have read it. So where was I when I was crying? I was at my desk at work. What a spot, right? I remember I was listening to it on the audio, and I got to a certain point, and I was literally crying at my desk to the point where I had to run to the bathroom. I had to run to the bathroom and literally go and compose myself so I could go back to work, because I could not believe what had happened in this book. Like, I was in shock. I was literally in shock. Like, I really wanted to leave work for the rest of the day. I really wanted to email my manager and say, listen, I gotta go. I gotta go. You have no idea what just took place. I have to go. I cannot work like this. Augustown by Kei Miller. And I've talked about this book not too long ago, so I won't spend too much time on it. But man, I absolutely freaking love this book. I love all of these books, because once books make me feel something, if I'm crying, I'm feeling. It don't get more of a feeling than actual tears. Okay? So yes, all of the books on this list are 5 stars, 100%. So Augustown is about an old blind woman named Ma Taffy. This book is set in Jamaica, and Ma Taffy, even though she's blind, she sees everything. She feels things deeply. There is some magical realism in this book as well, and Ma Taffy knows that something terrible is going to happen today. She feels it in her bones. She just knows it. She don't know exactly what, but she know something is going down. This book takes place all within one day. And what happens is Ma Taffy's great nephew goes to school. This is a young boy. He goes to school with his locks. He's a Rastafarian, and the teacher cuts his locks off because the teacher feels that the nephew is disrespectful, and he decides that this is what needs to happen, to teach him a lesson. And the cutting of these locks become this huge thing in this book. One, obviously, in the Rastafarian community, this is huge. This is not something that you could just do. That child has been growing those locks his entire life, and for a reason, might I add, for a reason that we find out in the book. And that act of violence against that child sets off the rest of this book in a huge chain of events. It's like a domino effect, And I really, I boohoo cried in this book because I was not expecting it. This was one of the ones where I put myself in the characters' places. And I was just like, wow, what if that was me? What would I do? Where would I go from there? And I think that just the level of despair I had felt just from even imagining that being my situation just had me I just felt so bad. I just felt so sorry for these characters. And it just really it got me here. The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. This is an oldie but goodie. I know everyone talks about The Nightingale, which I still haven't read. However, please do not sleep on The Great Alone. The Great Alone is set in the 1970s in Alaska. This book actually made me want to put Alaska on my travel list. But not in the dead of winter or nothing. But I don't want to go when it's 18 hours of night. No. Save that horror movie for someone else. I don't want to do that on vacation. But this is about a family who is living a regular life. The husband has come back from the war. He has a bit of PTSD. And he decides that he wants to live completely off the grid. So he packs up his wife and his daughter, Lenny, who is a teenager, and they go and they move to Alaska to live completely off the grid, to live off the land. And they have kind of bit off more than they could chew when they realize that when they get there, because the people who live in this community, they you don't got this, you don't have this, but you need this, and you need, actual supplies. There's a community store where you get these supplies, and you can't survive the winter until you have certain things. And I just I love the people in this community. I will say that, because the way everyone just kind of pitches in and tries to help them and tries to help them prepare for winter. I really enjoy reading about that. However, there are some wild moments in this book, some scary moments in this book. And again, this was another one where I was putting myself in the character's place, and I was just like, this can't be my life. This is insane. What is happening? We are following the daughter, Lenny, the entire time, and we're seeing everything through her eyes. And I just feel like Kristin Hannah, she just did the thing. And I don't know why people are really just holding on to The Nightingale. they don't really be talking about this one. Maybe I just need to read The Nightingale, because maybe The Nightingale is better than this one. But I like this one. I like this one. I don't know. This next one actually made me cry, not even because of the content of the book. This is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I absolutely love this fantasy series by this black author. And literally, that is why I was crying. I was literally crying when I finished this book. When I finished book 1. Because I was just thinking, yes, we got one. And this isn't to say that we don't have good black fantasy, because obviously we do. But I read it and it just felt so, like, it was just so buttoned up. Like, it just, to me, it just felt perfect. It was just perfect. And I don't know Evan Winter from a can of paint, but I felt overwhelmed with joy that he had written this blackety black fantasy with dragons, and I was just so proud of him, you know, and I was just happy, and I was just overwhelmed. I think that's what it was, and I was just like, oh, I mean, I could have also been PMSing at the time, but I really was so happy for him. You know, and I really do hope that book 3 is coming out at the end of this year. Like I heard. That's what I heard. I don't know. I've heard this. You know, I try to keep my ear to the book of streets, but I don't know. It's certainly been quite a bit of time. So we'll see. A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest J. Gaines. Oof. This book is I dare you to read this book and not cry. I don't know anyone that has read this book and didn't feel super emotional. The way it is written, it's literally written on purpose for you to cry. Like, it just feels like that's what was supposed to happen, you know. And I felt like it was leading up to the cry, and I was just like, well, I'm not gonna cry. Like, I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh, this is really sad, but I'm not gonna cry. And then I get to one sentence and I just lose it. Like, there's literally one sentence in this book that just broke me apart. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you need to read the book. There is a black man who has been convicted of a crime. They have sentenced him to the death penalty. And his godmother meets this teacher, this black male teacher, and he says, you know, like, I want him to learn. I want you to go to the jail and I want you to teach him, because during the trial, the black man's lawyer literally says, like, he's nothing more than an animal. Like, he's nothing. And that specifically infuriates the godmother. And she's like, no, like, he's a man. He's not a animal. Like, why would he say that? She tells the teacher, I want you to teach him because he's not an animal. And the teacher begins coming to this prison to try and help this guy. And the guy is a complete jerk. I'm going to be honest with you. He's a complete jerk in the beginning. He's not interested. And then slowly things start to change, right? But listen, the end of this book is just, yeah, it's a tearjerker, even for thugs like me. So what can I say? Anyway, that is going to be it for the books that at least I can remember that I had some tears over. If I think of some more, I will let y'all know. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and hype the video. Subscribe if you have not already for more bookish content like this. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.